that he considered the end of our marriage his biggest failure. But Bruce, don't be so hard on yourself.
For over 4 decades, Demi Moore was known for her iconic roles and unshakable strength, but nothing really prepared her for this. What started as Hollywood's most talked-about romance ended as Demi Moore's darkest chapter. At 62, Demi Moore is finally breaking her silence on Bruce Willis, and what she reveals has left the world stunned. From untold truths to emotional confessions, join us as we uncover shocking details that changes everything. In Hollywood, divorces are rarely quiet. They're messy, loud, and usually splattered across tabloid headlines for months. But in 1998, Demi Moore and Bruce Willis did something unheard of. After 11 years of marriage, they announced their separation with no drama, no blame, and no bitterness. Behind the scenes, it wasn't always perfect. They had their differences, their emotional wounds, and their complicated history. The divorce seemed to unlock a new chapter, one not based on romance, but on mutual care and deep understanding. In the years that followed, Demi and Bruce were spotted together frequently, sometimes with their daughters, sometimes alone. They were photographed laughing at events, sitting side by side at family functions, and even vacationing together. The world kept asking, are they getting back together? But the truth was far more layered and more inspiring. They didn't need to showcase their romance to stay connected. Their bond had simply evolved. What started as passion had transformed into something more enduring, a shared history, a deep friendship, and an unwavering commitment to family. That quiet strength became more visible in the years to come, because, as it turned out, the story of Demi and Bruce is one of a failed marriage. But that peaceful coexistence would be put to the ultimate test when Bruce's life took a tragic turn, and Demi was faced with a choice that would pull her back into the spotlight, for reasons no one expected. For years, Bruce Willis had been the picture of strength. Whether he was scaling buildings in Die Hard or appearing at red carpet events with his signature smirk, fans saw him as indestructible. That's what made the 2022 announcement so devastating. On March 30th, Bruce's family shared a heartbreaking statement. He was stepping away from acting due to a neurological disorder called aphasia, for fans who had grown up watching him as the ultimate action hero. This man, known for his quick wit and confident presence, was suddenly losing the ability to speak clearly and understand language. Despite being divorced for over 2 decades, Demi posted a touching photo of Bruce surrounded by family, along with a caption filled with love and support. She didn't just offer well wishes. She joined Bruce's care team, standing side by side with his wife Emma Hemming, and helping ensure Bruce was surrounded by familiarity, stability, and kindness. People were stunned. Here was a woman who had every reason to move on with her life. She had remarried, faced her own battles, and spent years out of the spotlight. Yet, the moment Bruce needed her, Demi showed up, not as an ex-wife, but as family. What followed was a series of images and stories that painted a powerful picture. Demi is spending holidays with Bruce. Their daughters share sweet moments with their father, a now viral video of the whole family. In that moment, everything changed. This wasn't just about an illness. It was about legacy, loyalty, and an unbreakable bond that had endured despite everything. Fans who once saw Demi and Bruce as a glamorous couple were now seeing something even more real. 2 people who had grown to show up for each other in the most difficult chapter of life. It wasn't just admirable, it was deeply human. In Hollywood, relationships rarely survive the storm. Marriages come and go. Friendships fade. But what happened between Demi Moore and Bruce Willis after his diagnosis wasn't just rare, it was unprecedented. As Bruce's health declined, she moved closer, physically and emotionally. Leaving behind her own private routines, she relocated to Idaho for long periods, where Bruce lived with his wife, Emma Hemming, and their 2 young daughters. To some, it may have seemed strange, an ex-wife stepping in so directly, but to those who knew Demi, it made perfect sense. They weren't just co-parents, they were still, in some quiet way, partners in life. Family photos began to circulate online. It looked genuine, a family trying to hold on to something sacred in the face of devastating change. Suddenly, people weren't just talking about Bruce's illness. They were talking about what it means to show up for someone, what it means to stay connected to someone, even when the traditional definition of love has long been faded. Speculation ran wild. Were Bruce and Demi rekindling something more? Was this a romantic reunion disguised as family healing? But those questions missed the point entirely. What they were doing wasn't about headlines or public perception. It was about building a bridge between past and present, and refusing to let it collapse under the weight of time, distance, or pain. For their daughters, it was everything. The family that had once been split across different households was now unified in a way no one saw coming. Demi didn't just reconnect with Bruce. She reconnected with the life they built together, flaws and all. There was no fanfare, no reality show, No tell-all reveal. Just a quiet presence, a familiar laugh, and a commitment to being there. Not because she had to, but because she chose to. This reunion wasn't a publicity stunt or a nostalgia act. It was love, in its most unglamorous and necessary form. A love that shows up when things get hard. A love that doesn't need labels. But as the world watched her show strength for Bruce, few knew Demi had already endured her own brutal fall from grace, and it nearly destroyed everything she had left. Before she reemerged as a pillar of strength for Bruce Willis, Demi Moore had quietly survived a collapse that nearly ended everything. While the world focused on her past romances and public image, her private life was spiraling out of control, and no one saw the full extent of the damage until it was too late. On the outside, she appeared composed, but internally she was battling addiction, self-doubt, and a level of loneliness she hadn't felt since her teenage years. The split had pulled up old wounds, ones she'd buried for decades, and left her grasping for stability in the most destructive ways. Her descent was fast and brutal. Demi kept fighting, quietly, in the background, and eventually, something shifted. In 2015, Tallulah, her youngest daughter, completed her own rehab journey and decided to reach out to her mother. That call marked the beginning of a long-overdue reunion. Demi dropped everything and flew to New York. The moment they locked eyes, everything changed. But what truly pulled Demi from the edge was still to come. And it wasn't therapy or treatment. It was something far more unexpected and far more personal. When Demi Moore's life was unraveling, it wasn't a therapist or a partner who pulled her back. It was the quiet, unwavering presence of someone she had once loved deeply, Bruce Willis. He wasn't preaching wisdom or offering advice. In fact, he probably had no idea he was doing anything at all. But for Demi, watching how Bruce continued to show up for their daughters, for his new family, and for her, became a silent lifeline. It reminded her of what constancy looked like, what unconditional support felt like, and what kind of person she still had the chance to become. For Demi, seeing Bruce again in that setting brought something up she hadn't realized she'd lost: emotional safety. He had remained a constant figure for their daughters, even when she couldn't. He showed up for school plays, family holidays, and quiet dinners. He stayed close to them even as she drifted further into darkness, and when she returned, he welcomed her without hesitation or resentment. That simple act of acceptance did something powerful. It helped restore Demi's sense of worth. She later admitted in interviews that Bruce had always been a grounding force in her life. They didn't always agree. They certainly had their issues. But his steady presence, especially in her daughters' lives, reminded her of the kind of foundation she once helped build and could help rebuild. During one especially emotional moment, Demi wrote in her journal, "He didn't try to save me. He just stayed." That kind of presence, non-judgmental, reliable, quietly loving, is what helped her feel like healing was truly possible. It wasn't about rekindling a romance. That chapter was closed. This was about evolving into something deeper, a bond not based on attraction, but on shared history, mutual respect, and a family that had been fractured but not broken. Bruce became a mirror for Demi, showing her what stability looked like, what consistency meant, and what unconditional love really feels like when all the chaos is stripped away. And even as his own health began to fade, he continued to do what he'd always done: show up for his kids, for his wife, for Demi. And finally, Demi spoke publicly, not just about her own struggles, but about Bruce. What she said left the world stunned and gave new meaning to the idea that love never really dies, it just transforms. For years, Demi Moore stayed quiet about her relationship with Bruce Willis, but on her 62nd birthday, everything changed. Demi finally opened up, not about fame, not about her past marriages, but about Bruce. And what she revealed wasn't just a headline. It was a raw, vulnerable expression of love, loss, and transformation. "He's the most constant man in my life. Even now, even in this state, Bruce reminds me of what it means to show up for someone without conditions." The statement sent shockwaves through fans and fellow celebrities alike. She wasn't just expressing admiration, she was honoring him in a way that transcended romantic history. In a few short lines, she'd captured something few people ever experience: a bond that outlives the relationship itself. She spoke about the realities of Bruce's condition, saying it had forced their entire family to look at life differently. There were no more scripts, no planned moments. Every day was about presence, patience, and grace. She admitted that it was painful, watching someone so full of life begin to fade, but it also forced them to love without expectations. No performances, no proving, just love in its purest form. And when asked about their past, the whirlwind romance, the divorce, the years of silence, Demi didn't flinch. "It all mattered," she said. "Every chapter, The good, the bad, the broken. It all led us here. She also spoke about forgiveness, not just forgiving Bruce, but herself, for the years she felt absent, for the times she spiraled, for the moments she wasn't there when she should have been. And in the same breath, she acknowledged Bruce's unwavering presence throughout it all. The interview wasn't dramatic, it wasn't performative, but it struck a nerve because it was honest. It made people rethink what love actually looks like when time has passed and people have changed. It showed that just because a marriage ends, the connection doesn't have to. Fans flooded social media with reactions. Some called it the most beautiful love story that never needed a Hollywood ending. Others said it gave them hope, that two people could evolve beyond pain and still meet each other with kindness. Demi didn't make herself the hero. She didn't frame Bruce as a tragic figure. Instead, she revealed a story of quiet endurance, of showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And as her words echoed around the world, one truth became clear. This wasn't about fame or nostalgia. It was about legacy. And the way Demi closed that interview left everyone thinking deeply about the kind of love that stays, even when everything else changes. Demi Moore isn't chasing headlines anymore. She's not trying to reclaim old fame or reignite past flames. What she's doing is far more meaningful, redefining what love can look like after the spotlight fades. At 62, she's found peace, not in a man, not in a comeback, but in the realization that love doesn't have to be romantic to be real. Her bond with Bruce Willis may have started with passion, but it has endured through pain, forgiveness, and time. And in the end, maybe that's the most powerful love story of all. Do you think Demi and Bruce shared a deeper connection than just romance? Can two people truly stay close to each other after their divorce? Or is it just a rare case in Hollywood? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for further updates.